Hello students. Today we are going to continue with the poem The Chariot written by Emily Dickinson. In the previous part of this video, I had given you a brief introduction to the poet and to the poem as well. I also explained first two stanzas of the poem where Dickinson told us about how death arrived to take her to a journey into the afterlife in his carriage. The poet and death, along with immortality, start their journey together, driving slowly with no hurry. And the poet praises death for his kind and civil behavior because he had taken the trouble to come and take her on this journey when she had never stopped to think about death, when she had never given a thought to death. Now, let us read further and see what happens next in the third stanza. I quote, "We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun." Now here, in this stanza, the speaker is describing some scenes that they saw during the ride. She says, "We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring." They saw children playing in the school playground. Note here, she uses the word strove to describe children's activity in the game. She doesn't simply say playing, she says striving, as if they are trying hard to play the game, which at the same time also suggests the striving, the struggle at life in general. This line seems to say life is also a game in which people strive to succeed, play hard to succeed. At recess in the ring. Now the shape is also symbolic into which children have arranged themselves. They are playing in the ring, in the shape of a circle. So this circle also hints at the cycle of life and death. And perhaps here Emily Dickinson wants us to remember that death is a part of life and we all must give it a thought. In the next line she says, "We passed the fields of gazing grain." Having passed by the school, the carriage now passes by the fields of grain. And grain which seems to gaze. Gaze means to look, the gazing grain. The grain seems to stand still and just look at the carriage as it passes by. So the poet has personified the grain by giving it a human quality of gazing. Next he says, "We passed the setting sun." Now this image of setting sun has a lot of symbolic significance. The setting sun generally signifies the end of the day, but it might also stand for the end of life. And here in the stanza, we can see that with the sinking of the sun, there is also another sinking happening. There is another ending happening, and that is the end of poet's life into death. So all these different images in this particular stanza are bring together with a lot of symbolic significance. Another thing to note in this stanza is that through the images of children, ripened grain in the fields, and setting sun, Emily Dickinson represents different stages of life. Like the children represent the early years of human life. The ripened grain represent adulthood. And the setting sun obviously stands for old age. So by including these three images in this stanza, Dickinson is picturing the entire range of lifetime experiences that she is passing through as she moves in this journey from life towards death. Also, the use of poetic device anaphora with the repetition of phrase we passed, we passed, we passed in the beginning of lines also suggests the movement, the progression in the poet's journey to afterlife. Stanza 4th. Or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet only tulle. In the last line of previous stanza, she said, we passed the setting sun. But in this stanza, she says, or rather he passed us. She is here personifying the sun and says, actually he passed us. And what does she want to say here with this line? See, if we go a little deeper into the line and think, we will find that sun represents warmth, light, and also life. So the sun has passed by the poet, leaving her to the coldness and darkness of death. So in a very clear way, she is telling us that she is now moving from the realm of life into the realm of death. So the expression, or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown. As the sun of light and warmth has gone from poet's life, so there is chilliness, the coldness of death. And often in literature, death is associated with coldness and dew. And now the poet is feeling the same chill, the same coldness of death. For only gossamer my gown. Gossamer is a very, very light, thin fabric generally used for making the gown of a bride. And she was wearing the gown made with gossamer. My tippet only tulle. A tippet is a kind of a cape or a shawl traditionally worn by the nuns. But the tippet poet is wearing is made of tulle. Tulle is again a very thin fabric like lace or net. So here her tippet was different from the tippet worn by nuns. Her clothing was not thick. Her gown was silky and thin like gossamer. And perhaps she was feeling very cold in her thin dress. For only gossamer my gown, my tippet only tulle. And the fact that she was kind of underdressed for this journey because she was feeling cold also reflects that she was underprepared for this moment. Death came to her at his own will. It was not her choice, and she was not planning to go on this journey with death. Stanza 5th. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. We paused before a house. So, as she says, we paused before a house, we come to know that the carriage has brought her to the point and place of her death. Death has led her to final destination, and the word she uses for her final destination is house. She says, we paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. Now the house is a metaphor for the grave. So using the word house instead of word grave, Dickinson is kind of showing how calm, comfortable and relaxed she is with dying. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The phrase swelling of the ground confirms that it is indeed her grave. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Cornice is a pointed part of the roof, and here it is in the ground. So if the cornice, the highest part of the roof, is below the ground, we can imagine where the rest of the house is. Obviously there is no part of it that is above the ground. So another proof that this place is actually her burial place, her grave. Stanza 6th, final stanza. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were towards eternity. Now, in this last stanza, the speaker tells us that this happened centuries ago. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day. So this happened centuries ago. So all this while she was talking about something that happened a long time ago. She had been dead for many years, and yet she says, feels shorter than the day. And it's the same expression when we recall some old memory and say, feels like just yesterday. So this memory of being dead long time back remains fresh in the mind of the speaker and talks about it as if it happened recently. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. Surmised meaning guess. To sense. These final lines, I first surmised the horses' heads were towards eternity. These final lines take us back to the first stanza where a speaker talked about the carriage drawn by horses, the death chariot. She says she could guess that she could guess that those horses were heading towards eternity, that those horses signified her journey to the afterlife. This was a special carriage, as she also capitalized the word carriage, if you remember, in the first stanza. This was the carriage that took her to eternity. So we can say that she knew at the very beginning that this journey with death will not end her life, but rather it will be the beginning of an eternal life. To conclude, death seems to be the overall theme of this poem. However, it's definitely a different take on death as we normally find in other poems written about death. Emily Dickinson here brings about an optimistic view on death. She pictures death something to be looked forward to, something that you definitely don't fear, but rather you go into it with a feeling of hopefulness, looking forward to eternity. So with this, we come to the end of our discussion of this poem. I hope the poem is clear to you all. Thank you so much.